Welcome back to another update on stimulus and Social Security changes. It's Andrew here, and today we're going to talk about Democrats' plan for a $4,000 stimulus payment for adults that don't have children. Now, we have a new update from the White House, so let's discuss the details in this video. But before we do, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. I also have a second channel, so if you could do me a huge favor, click on the link that's in the description of this video. Go ahead and subscribe to my second channel. I'm going to be giving away a stimulus check on that channel just as a thank you for supporting my work. So currently Democrats are working on the next two stimulus packages, and they have promised to have both of them done by the end of September. One proposal that's made it into the mix is a $4,000 adult tax credit that doesn't require you to have kids, and yes, seniors and people on Social Security benefits would qualify. Now, before we talk about the details on that, let's do a quick update on daily trending news. Now, conservatives are slamming President Biden, saying that he used the deadly New York City Ida flooding to push his $1.2 trillion infrastructure stimulus plan. Now, Biden came out and said that this is one reason why we need to invest over $1 trillion in physical infrastructure, not just to stimulate our economy, but also for safety. He is saying that these floodings probably wouldn't have happened if New York had had the proper infrastructure in place. Conservatives are saying that it's shallow that President Biden is using that as a reason to push his agenda. Now, guys, let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Does President Biden have a good point, or is President Biden just using a tragedy to try and push his own agenda? Now, as far as the physical stimulus plan, which is going to create millions of jobs, this chart here shows you which states will get the most money from this physical infrastructure plan. Again, this is the physical infrastructure plan, not the American Families Plan, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. Now, the darkest blue states are getting the most amount of funding per resident. So although overall states like Texas, California, and New York are going to get the largest chunks of the money, smaller states like Alaska, Montana, Wyoming, Vermont, they're going to get actually more money per resident. So that's really good news. Basically, this chart is showing that the smaller states are going to be very well represented in this physical stimulus plan. So smaller states that have a smaller population are still going to get a good chunk of the money. That's really good news, and it's showing that this stimulus package is going to be pretty evenly distributed when you take into account how many residents every single state has. Now, a lot of times these big packages kind of neglect the smaller states, but this is a really good sign that millions of Americans across the country are going to benefit from this physical stimulus plan. Now, one reason I think this is happening is because this is a bipartisan package. So because it's a bipartisan package, both Democratic and Republican states are being represented. And you see, this is what happens when we have bipartisan work. Now, although we're in a time when our government is so divided and our country is so divided, this is a good picture as to what can happen with both sides of the aisle come together to do what's right for the American people. Okay, one more quick update on daily trending news, and then we're going to talk about the White House's update on the $4,000 stimulus payment that could end up in this next stimulus package. Now, in trending news is the California recall election, which is going to put Gavin Newsom, who is the governor of California, up against a handful of Democrats and Republicans because people were saying that he was not doing a good job governing. Now, you might remember Newsom from national news when back in November, when the pandemic was still at its peak, stay-at-home orders were still in place, restaurants were closed. He actually made national news for holding a dinner party indoors without wearing masks and not social distancing. And all of this was while he was the governor of California and instituting one of the harshest stay-at-home and business closures in the entire country. This is one of the main reasons this recall election is happening. And they actually got millions of petition votes to make this recall election happen. And for quite a while, it was looking like he actually might lose. Well, then Governor Newsom approved 2 more stimulus checks in California. He did a 4th stimulus check for those who make less than $30,000 per year. And now he's doing the 5th stimulus check for anyone making over $30,000 per year. And these stimulus checks are set to go out this week. And just by coincidence, he now is expected to win again. So it looks like approving more stimulus checks helps win elections. And guys, this is one reason why I really think that Democrats are going to try and do another stimulus check, because they have a lot of elections coming up in 2022, and it's been proven that approving more stimulus checks work. Look at Governor Newsom. He is facing a recall election. He approved 2 more stimulus checks, and now he's projected to win that election. The same thing happened in Georgia. When Democrats wanted to win both Senate seats in Georgia this last January, they promised a 3rd stimulus check. Then Americans voted both Democrats into office. Then they approved that 3rd stimulus check just a few months later. So a lot of experts are saying that one of the main reasons that Governor Newsom is going to win this re-election is because he approved another stimulus check, and they expect Democrats to do the same at a national level. Now, this election is really, really important for stimulus at a national level as well, because the top contender who wants to replace Governor Newsom is a Republican named Larry Elder, and he said that if he wins, there is a chance he could replace one of the California senators with a Republican, meaning that Democrats would no longer have a majority in the Senate, which would mean that Democrats would not be able to approve any more stimulus using budget reconciliation. Now, this Senator, Dianne Feinstein, is 88 years old, and it's been rumored that she could retire soon due to her age. Now, if a senator retires, the governor in place of that state gets to appoint the new senator, and this would be really, really bad for stimulus at the national level. So currently, whether you vote Republican or Democrat, a Republican taking over the California governorship would actually be really, really bad for stimulus at the national level. Now, Governor Newsom does have some competition from Democrats. And actually, the top polling Democratic nominee is a YouTuber, Meet Kevin. He actually rose to fame by making videos about stimulus as well. And guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you like Meet Kevin? And do you think he'd do a good job as governor? Currently, he is polling just behind Larry Elder, and he is the top Democratic polling candidate. And I just find it really interesting how a YouTuber who rose to fame with over 1.7 million subscribers by talking about stimulus is now running for governor and getting a lot of steam. It just goes to show that the people support approving more stimulus, and quite frankly, the people deserve more stimulus after having paid taxes their entire lives. Now, although he's in second place behind Larry Elder, it doesn't look likely like he's going to win the election, but it's really, really cool to see someone who supports the American people, supports approving more stimulus, running for governor, and actually polling really, really high. And speaking of polls, President Biden just hit his record low in the polls, given the fact that the pandemic is now getting worse and the Afghanistan withdrawal was completely chaotic. It looks like his approval rating just dropped to a record low of 43%. So guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think President Biden is doing a good job? And has your approval rating of him changed in the last few weeks as things have continued to get worse? According to the most recent polls, Democratic voters still have an 85% approval rating, but that is down from 90%. Republicans gave him a 5% approval rating, so that's only a drop of 1% from Republicans, but the biggest drop was from independents. People who were on the fence, basically swing state voters, went from a 46% approval rating to 36%. Guys, that is a huge drop and does not bode well for President Biden, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree with these polls? Do you think all of these issues are his fault? I'd be interested to see what you guys think in the comments below. Okay, guys, let's jump right into stimulus and an update on the $4,000 adult stimulus check proposal that has been put on the table by Democrats. Now, this plan was originally proposed by Wisconsin Representative Gwen Moore, and this is an extension of the Earned Income Tax Credit. Now, a couple of things I want to point out. First, yes, you do have to work at least very, very part-time, even if it's once a month, to qualify for this credit. Now, I know that can be really, really upsetting for seniors who have worked their entire lives, and quite frankly, I agree. You shouldn't have to work anymore. Your Social Security benefits should be enough to sustain you after you paid into the system your entire life. But that being said, this Earned Income Tax Credit has been modified recently, and that benefits seniors greatly if they just work part-time. Now, first of all, seniors typically would not even qualify for the Earned Income Tax Credit, and if you were over 60 years old, you would not get any money back at all. Well, they recently changed that for 2021, and there is no upper age limit on this credit, so seniors can work a part-time job and fully qualify for this money. Also, the maximum credit for people who don't have kids was increased from $543 to $1,500 per year. That is triple what it used to be for 2021. And now Gwen Moore, the representative from Wisconsin, wants to increase this to $4,000 per year. She also wants to make it a monthly payment, just like the child stimulus tax credits that are being paid on a monthly basis. This would provide adults who don't have kids between $300 and $400 per month in stimulus payments. Now, the tax credit is a little bit complicated, but basically, the more you work, the more you get back in tax credit stimulus. And although the details of the plan have still not been fully released, it has been rumored that Gwen Moore would want to make everybody qualify for the full $4,000 per month stimulus as long as you made at least $1 in that year. Some experts even think that they won't even require you to make any income, just like the child tax credit. The child tax credit doesn't require you to work at all, you just have to have kids. Some experts think they'll do the same thing with this adult tax credit. Now, there are some limitations to this credit. Specifically, if you made over $16,000 per year, you previously would not qualify for this credit at all. But they increased that to $21,000 per year. And yes, it does include your Social Security benefits. Now, if you're married, your income can be up to $27,000 per year in order to still qualify. And the best part is it's fully refundable, which means even if you don't owe anything in taxes or if you owe less than the $4,000, you will fully get the payment back as a stimulus payment. Now, the White House recently updated their website. If you go to whitehouse.gov and their fact sheet page on the American Family Stimulus Plan, they provided an update saying that in this American Families Plan, they want to extend tax cuts for families and working adults. And their website has now been updated to say the American Families Plan will extend key tax cuts in the American Rescue Plan that benefit lower and middle income workers and families, including the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit. And what they're referring to is extending the fact that seniors now qualify for this tax credit, as well as tripling the maximum from $500 to $1,500 per year. So we have the White House supporting the extension and the expansion of these tax credits, and then we have Democrats like Gwen Moore who want to further expand it up to $4,000 per year. So guys, although this is still just a proposal, it is really a great step in the right direction. Imagine having a $300 per month stimulus check for the entire year. That would be really, really good. That would be even better than the monthly Social Security stimulus, which President Biden still promises to get done. Now, I just want to point out that this tax credit is complicated, and if you only work once a month, you wouldn't get the full $4,000, but you would get a large portion of that. And the more you work, the more of the tax credit stimulus you would receive back. But we'll have more updates on that to come. I quickly want to end this video with an update from President Biden himself. He recently gave a speech talking about the need for the rich to pay more in taxes so we can approve more stimulus and increase Social Security benefits, as well as what he plans to include in this next stimulus package. So let's take a look and see what President Biden just said about stimulus, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
Look, at the same time, the House and Senate have to advance my Build Back Better agenda. That bill contains critical investments in child care to make it easier for families to be able to go to work and assure their child is being taken care of. And home care for seniors, the polling data shows among your generation, all of you out here, your greatest concern is caring for your elderly parent, even more than your child. It's about paid leave, allowing people with a new child or a sick spouse at home to take care of them without risking losing their paycheck. Not indefinitely, but for a time period they can actually make a difference. Universal pre-K and community college, making us significantly better educated and increasing our competitive edge globally, around the world, over time. And we'll combat climate change by building our clean energy future, creating, the experts point out, millions of jobs and building windmills and solar panels all around the country and transferring that energy, transmitting it to parts that don't have that capacity. We're going to bring down the cost of prescription drugs by allowing Medicare to finally be able to negotiate drug prices with producers. Look, and so much more. Here's the thing you need to know. We're going to deliver these investments without raising taxes 1 cent on anyone making less than $400,000 a year. How are we going to do that? We're going to do it by leveling the playing field, by just having a fair system where we ask the largest corporations and the wealthiest Americans to begin to pay their fair share, not more. They can still make millions of dollars. The super wealthy are still going to be able to have 3 homes. It's not going to affect anything. The fact of the matter is, though, it's about time they begin to pay their fair share. For example, you've heard me say it before, and I'll say it again, but it's the best example to make clear to people a very complicated notion. 55 of the largest corporations in America last year paid zero in federal taxes. I don't care what your position is. It just seems to me it's time they start to pay their fair share, like everybody else. Just pay a little bit here. And it comes up to billions of dollars if they pay. The irony of ironies is during the recession and the pandemic, you've heard me say this before, I apologize for repeating it, where the vast majority of Americans are struggling just to hang on, the number of billionaires in America actually grew. Now I want to hold here for just a second. There have been so many records the stock market has hit under my presidency. Imagine if the other guy was here. We're doing great. It's wonderful. The stock market is surging. It's gone up higher than me than anybody. But that doesn't mean that it's the best for the economy. Look, stock market has set 40 record highs just this year. They can afford to pay just a little bit more. But folks, right now, the House and Senate are working on my plan to generate a fair tax system and close loopholes that big corporations and super wealthy use to pay less. To give you one example, there's a group of experts, left, right, and center, who estimate that right now we lose more than $100 billion a year in tax revenue owed from the top 1% of taxpayers alone. Not because of low tax rates, but because the wealthy people aren't paying the taxes they owe. We're going to change that so that they pay taxes just like typical hardworking Americans do right now. We're going to use the money we collect from the tax cuts to give tax cuts to middle-class families, to make it easier to raise kids, to take care of your aging parents, and so much more. What's going on in Congress? Not a single Republican supports this plan. They support the bipartisan plan, but not this plan. Not one. And some big corporations are spending millions of dollars legitimately, they're lobbying, to try to escape their obligation to pay the taxes they owe, leaving working families to pay a larger share of the burden. Somebody's got to pay. And when those who can afford to pay aren't paying anywhere near their fair share, it means you all pay more. This has worked in the past with significant lobbying efforts, but I don't think it's going to work with me. For those big corporations that don't want things to change, my message is this: it's time for working families, the folks who built this country, to have their taxes cut. And those corporate interests doing everything they can to find allies in Congress to keep that from happening. Let me be, as the old expression goes, perfectly clear. I'm going to take them on. We're going to pass these measures. We're going to build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down.